Auckland Council says an independent review has been launched into how a young man died after an accident on a Lime scooter a week ago. The Council's Director of Regulatory Services, Craig Hobbs, told me earlier in the programme Lime has given assurances it can find no fault with the scooter involved in the fatal incident. But the Council's reserving judgement pending the outcome of its own investigation. The 23-year-old who died in hospital on Friday evening was riding the scooter just after 6 o'clock last Monday night when witness Jeff Young saw the incident unfold.
There was an e-scooter rider also on the left-hand side of the road, probably 30 to 40 metres ahead of me, and I noticed that he started to drift across to the right-hand side, and I believe that was probably looking over his shoulder, no doubt probably seeing me come along, and then he got into trouble and he went flying over the handlebars and landed on his back and hit his head in that process.
You were in a car, were you, Jeff?
Yes.
So what speed do you think you were going, and could you estimate what speed he was going at?
I was doing approximately 30 kilometres an hour, and I could only say that he was doing at least 15 to 20 kilometres an hour. I don't want to speculate to saying he was doing the maximum. I don't know that. And the police would be able to determine that from Lime's telemetry.
So tell me, his position was he actually on the road? Was he on a footpath, on the verge? Where was he in the scheme of things?
He was on the road, travelling on the left-hand lane, towards the middle of the lane. And when he got into trouble, he was towards the centre of the road, and then he landed within a metre on the other side of the road, so on the other lane.
When you say he got into trouble, Jeff, just talk me through what was the first signs that you thought, oh, something's going wrong here?
The back wheel lifting and him flying over the handlebars.
So the back wheel lifting off the ground?
Yes. I've ridden these things and I know what they can and can't do. And I could only have assumed, and this is my assumption, and this is not actually, verified, that if you turn the handlebars too quickly when you're at speed, then the chances are with the momentum and the weight that's on that, something will have to give, and it's likely that the handlebars will lock up to one side, and I think you'll probably find that the wheel could be at like 45 degrees from the back wheel. With that momentum and that speed, it's not possible that you're going to turn. It's going to stop. Basically, the front wheel will just stop, and then you'll just fly over the handlebars.
So as you saw it, Jeff, the back wheel starts to lift. Did the scooter come to an abrupt stop and buck up and over, in essence?
Yes, absolutely. And he wasn't wearing a helmet.
So tell me, the rider went over the top of the handlebars?
Yeah, well, of course, as the back wheel come up, the handlebars starts going towards the ground. And, yeah, he flew probably 2 to 3 metres, I guess.
So literally somersaulted over the top of the handlebars of the scooter?
Well, he was obviously facing forwards, but then he ended up falling on his back and then subsequently hit his head on the ground.
And no helmet, as you say?
No helmet, no.
What did you do at this point?
I was still on the left-hand side, the normal side of the road that I should have been on, and I stopped, put my emergency lights, flashing lights on, and then got out. There were 2 or 3 people also that were walking by on the boardwalk, and we all sort of converged on him at the same time. The other people indicated they only heard what happened, they didn't see what happened. And one of the girls had her phone and called emergency services, and you could clearly identify that they were asking, is he breathing? Because the girl was saying, yes, breathing in, breathing out. She did that quite a few times. And the people around were all saying, what can we do? And the response from the emergency services was leaving. And we could understand why, because it could have been a spinal injury or anything like that. So he ended up, somebody put a jacket over him. I got close down and, touched him and said, "You okay, you okay?" But there was no response.
How long did it take, do you think, between that time and the ambulance arriving?
15 minutes, maximum 20.
And did the police appear on the scene while you were still there, Jeff?
No. There was another thing, and that was the Lime scooter was moved from where it lay on the road to just off the road, which was then onto the bark that was there. There was quite a large garden, I guess, or bush area where there was a lot of bark just immediately next to the road. That's where it was put.
Who put it there, Jeff?
Couldn't tell you.
What about, what time of night was it that you said, and was it dark or rainy? What kind of evening was it?
No, it wasn't dark at the time the accident occurred. It was 6:15. I think sunset is around 6:30 or 6:25. So it definitely wasn't dark. But by the time the ambulance arrived, it was getting darker. But the conditions, I would have thought, were pretty good, generally speaking, yes.
And so the police, have they taken a statement from you, Jeff?
No, but I have spoken to them a couple of times. They couldn't identify where the accident occurred at all, because I believe they did turn up a couple of hours later, but there was nothing left. I'm not even sure if the Lime scooter was there when they arrived. But they do want me to complete a statement.
And that's Jeff Young, who witnessed last week's fatal Lime scooter accident. And Jeff also told us that a young woman walking past took a note of the serial number of the scooter.